NTV Tonight starts right now. The top stories.
Tonight, missing Dandora activist Caroline Mwatha found dead amid questions by the family.
Tunasikia aliletwa na mwanaume na huyo mwanaume anasema ni bwana ya Karo. Bwana ya Karo alikuwa Dubai wakati huo.
Arrests have been made.
Also tonight, shock and feelings of helplessness.
Ngamwambia huyo mtu enda polisi. Wewe ukakato na wewe aende.
Mary Wamboy murder suspect Judy Wangoi's mother speaks.
Plus, Deputy President William Ruto insists he is not below Super CS Fred Matiang'i.
That committee reports to the president and myself. How on earth can you talk about sidelining?
And
once we strengthen the law on elections, then we shall strengthen the electoral infrastructure.
IEBC calls for changes in the law for electoral integrity.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai and Smriti Vidyarthi.
We're glad you could join us on NTV Tonight, and our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. To our top story, Caroline Mwatha Ochieng, a human rights activist who had been missing, has been found dead. Police have arrested 6 people suspected of involvement in her death.
Caroline, who used to work for the Dandora Community Justice System, went missing on Thursday last week. Her body was found today at the city mortuary.
Caroline's father says she died because of her activism, but police sources insist that she died because of a botched abortion.
NTV's Sharon Baranga starts our broadcast with more details on this story.
The search for Caroline Mwatha Ochieng has ended at Nairobi City Mortuary. Caroline went missing 5 days ago. She was last seen on Thursday when she took her daughter to school. Her body was found Tuesday evening and it was booked as having been brought by a private citizen. The family suspects Caroline was murdered.
Caroline najua hakika mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Caroline amekufa sababu ya kufuata ukweli. Sababu kila wakati anafuatanga ukweli. Na hii kifo ya Caroline si ya ugonjwa, si ya accident, ni aliuliwa sababu ya kufuata kusema ukweli. Sababu ya kufuatilia ukweli. Na January wakati ulianza mwaka, Karo alituweka chini akatuambia, mimi nikiwa na mama yake, akatuambia mam na bab na dad, ile kazi nafanya ni sensitive. Msiambia mtu nafanya kazi gani.
Caroline's disappearance was reported at Buruburu police station on Friday last week. Some of her colleagues reported that on Saturday, her phone was on for a few minutes. She had tried to call her husband and father. Caroline was a human rights activist working with Dandora Community Justice Center.
Bala kuandikwa Karo Mwatha, anaandikwa Karo Mbeki. Hapa ameletwa na mwanamke. Pale tuni police boss Kenyatta, tunasikia aliletwa na mwanaume na huyo mwanaume anasema ni bwana ya Karo. Bwana ya Karo alikuwa Dubai wakati huo. Alikuwa bwana yake siku gani? Na Karo aliolewa na harusi. Sio mtu wa kurokota mtaani.
However, police say Caroline died during a botched abortion at a clinic in Dandora Phase 4. The owner of the clinic and her children are among the suspects who have been arrested and are in police custody. They were arrested Monday night with the doctor suspected to have conducted the botched abortion arrested Tuesday morning. Caroline's body, according to police, was taken to the city mortuary on the same day she disappeared. Those who took her to the morgue had tried to take her to the Kenyatta National Hospital, but were told she was already dead. They took her to the morgue under a different name, leading to the extensive search since. Yesterday, other human rights activists, together with the residents of Dandora Estate, organized for a vigil for Caroline. Her colleagues said the mother of 2 had never reported having received threats to her life, but as an organization, they have been receiving threats. Caroline was one of the founders of the Dandora Community Justice Center. She had been documenting cases of human rights violations and extrajudicial killings. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Right, well, we can now take you live to the city mortuary where NTV's Vincent Odwor is following the story this evening. Now, the city mortuary is where Caroline Mwatha's body was found. Vincent, what can you tell us?
Absolutely, it has been a very disappointing and heartbreaking evening for the family and friends of activist Caroline Mwatha, who is now no more. For the better part of the evening, the family of Caroline, together with friends, have been camping here at a city mortuary to view the body and also to condemn this act, which they have termed as a gruesome murder of Caroline. What I can tell you right now is that the family, including the parents, her parents, including the mother and the father, are still here and they are keeping vigil here at City Mortuary. And what I viewed a few minutes ago was very disappointing, because the mother of the late Caroline Mwatha was overwhelmed and even fainted for about 10 minutes before being attended to by some of the family members and friends. And right now, as I'm speaking, she is somewhere seated, people are trying to console her and is trying to come to terms to really what has happened. And what I can tell is that for the better part of the day, some of the people who used to work with Caroline at Dandora Community Social Justice Center were here, and they have been demanding for the city mortuary management to really be clear on who booked the body here at City Mortuary, at what time and when, because according to them, they're being told by the management of the City Mortuary that the body was brought here on 7th, yet some of the family members and friends are saying they were here on 8th and 9th and they were not able, or they didn't see the body here, and there was nobody even named Caroline here at the City Mortuary. And there was another conflicting information that the family is demanding to be told is when the body was first taken to Kenyatta National Hospital, it was taken there by somebody who claimed to be the husband. But when it was brought here at City Mortuary, it was booked in by a lady called Grace. And therefore, the human rights colleagues who've been here are viewing this as a move to try and hide information from the family on really what transpired. And they are calling on the Inspector General of Police to really come clean on what transpired and what happened to Caroline. For now, the family and friends are still here at City Mortuary, and they have agreed that the body is going to spend the night here at City Mortuary before being removed tomorrow for a post-mortem, because they're saying some of the people are demanding for the body to be removed from this City Mortuary, but they were told if they do so, they will be accused of interfering with the body, and therefore they've decided to camp here and the body will spend the night here. For now, I'm taking you back to studio.
Thank you, Vincent Odwor, with that. And as we await for more revelations of what happened, this is what the police is saying. The Director of Criminal Investigation sent out presser this evening, and these are the names of the 6 who have been arrested so far as investigations continue. The first being Betty Akinyi, Nyanya Elias, Betty Ramoya, and there's Richard Ramoya Abudo, son to Betty, and George Achieng Tabitha, as well as Michael Onchiri alias Dr. Mike, who is suspected to have procured this abortion, Alexander Hitao Hikonya, who is alleged to be the boyfriend of the deceased, as well as Stephen Maina, who was the Uber driver and suspected to have been used in transporting the body of the deceased. Now, of course, the police are sending out condolences and appealing for patience as the investigations continue. But yes, the conflicting accounts there, the family saying that she has passed on because of her work as a human rights activist, the police saying that there is another side to this story, that she was trying to procure an abortion which went wrong, leading to her death. But as we continue, of course, to await, we say for more details, we say pole sana to the family for this loss. Over to you, Smriti.
All right, Mark, thanks. Now we take you to the Mary Wambui murder case, and Judy Wangoi, the main suspect in the Mary Wambui murder, is set to take plea tomorrow. Now, at her home in Gikure, Gatundu South constituency in Kiambu County, residents remain shocked about what they've heard in the media about her. Wangoi's family struggles to figure out how they will get by without their daughter, who supported her ailing mother and her 7-year-old son.
The compound where Judy Wangoi Mungai grew up is a far cry from the luxury she's used to in the city. Her mother, Jane Wairimo, sits alone in her home, trying to battle feelings of helplessness and fear of what lies ahead for her daughter.
Mimi nakaa hapa Kisagi, si ndio? Na nakaa na mwana yake na mtoto yake iko hapo. Anaenda shule saa hii. Anasomanga hii Katondo. Lakini hiyo maneno mimi hapa najua.
Judy Wangoi was a pupil at Gikure Primary School and left the village to try her luck in the city on completing her primary level education. There, she worked odd jobs in the Ndegwa, from hawking snacks to starting a small restaurant and finally landing a cashier's job with the Cories. It was an encounter that led to a toxic relationship with the patriarch Joseph Corey that Judy's son narrated to his mother.
Akakuja akaja, "Soso kuja umuone. Huyu ni mtu mbaya sana, anafikaga mami kabisa. Anafuja vitu kama TV, kama vitu ya nyumba." Akamufiga tu, akafuja yote.
What would follow would be a separation between the two, one that Wairimo advocated for, as though she knew what danger lay ahead.
Akaniambia, "Mam, hai, uombee mimi huyu mtu atoke kwa nyumba yangu." Ngamwambia, huyo mtu enda kwa polisi. Wewe ukae kando na wewe aende. Tutakimugulite.
On the day of Mary Wamboi Kamagara's murder, Judy Wangoi told her mother that she found the main door to her house open upon returning from work and Joseph Corey seated in the living room. She was in the company of Wamboi, who demanded that she leaves her husband alone. Wairimo tells us that her conversation with her daughter was interrupted by a police officer and she knows nothing more of the case facing her daughter.
Alafu saa yote mimi nataka dawa. Na dawa mimi nakunywa dawa ambesa mingi. Ni wewe tu analete. Na sakura analete sana hapo. Kama hii tunakaa na mtoto wake anatulete sakura.
After receiving the news, what followed was confusion as Jane Wairimo tried to reconcile the news of an alleged murder with the daughter that she raised. She says it's like a nightmare that she's unable to wake up from. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
2 people have died in a road accident that involved 2 lorries and a motorcycle at Maseno along the Kisumu-Busia highway. 3 other people were injured and rushed to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital for treatment. According to witnesses, the canter, which was heading to Kisumu, lost control and knocked a boda rider who was traveling in the same direction before ramming into an oncoming white canter, which was transporting cement. The Kisumu West OCPD said investigations are underway to establish the exact cause of the accident. Residents complain that the road lacks speed bumps and road signs.
Sasa kulikuwa na moto ilikuwa mbele yake. Sasa ni kama alimgonga akajaribu kumhepa. Sasa vile alijaribu kuhepa hiyo lori nini pikipiki. Ndio akaenda akaja akagonga gari ingine.
Well, on the same note, the National Transport and Safety Authority has been ordered to ensure that deaths through road accidents are reduced by 50%. The Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Coordination, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, issued the directive after meeting with the NTSA board for the first time since the authority was placed under his ministry. But as Brenda Wanga reports, the directives come as operations at the NTSA slow down.
From the Ministry of Transport to that of Interior, the changes at the NTSA are quickly taking shape.
I have been instructed to do.
The Cabinet Secretary now in charge here has hit the ground running, setting targets for the authority charged with ensuring road safety in the country. In a statement, the CS has instructed the authority to immediately reduce the number of road accident fatalities by 50%. The CS says, and I quote, Our aim is to have better road manners and near zero traffic related deaths, end of quote. He further charges the authority with the responsibility of being, I quote, directly accountable to Kenyans by enforcing all the laws ruthlessly and applying standards without compromising, end of quote. The directives come as the NTSA continues to take the hit over the mismanagement of affairs at the authority. Only recently, the inefficiency at the authority was exposed in the wake of the Dusit D2 terror attack, where the vehicle used to ferry the terrorists was found to have had a cloned number plate. In his meeting with the new board at the NTSA, the CS assured that the investigations into this practice that he terms as a threat to national security are at an advanced stage and promised that all involved will face the full force of the law. Already a number of employees of the NTSA have been charged in court over the same. The CS further challenged the staff at the NTSA to be proactive in carrying out their duties by frequently getting out of their offices and venturing onto the roads to verify the authenticity of the licenses they issue both for drivers and for vehicles.
The reorganized NTSA will be under sharp scrutiny in the coming weeks as the Mother Ministry expects to see tangible results in the shortest time possible. Brenda Wanga, NTV, Nairobi.
Even as we anticipate the imminent changes at the NTSA, given the riot act by CS Fred Matiang'i, we ask on Opinion Count, do you think NTSA has what it takes to tame road carnage?
Send us your views to 20686 or tweet us on @NTV Kenya, @Mark Masai or @Smriti Vidyarthi. We'll sample your views at the end of this broadcast.
From roads to lands, the National Land Commission chairperson Mohammed Swazuri has been barred from accessing his office and contacting witnesses in an ongoing corruption case against him.
The anti-corruption court at Milimani says that Swazuri should not access the NLC premises unless he is escorted by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission officers.
The court has also granted the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution's application to bar Swazuri from contacting witnesses in graft cases against him.
The prosecution had alleged that Swazuri had been intimidating witnesses. The respondent has been ordered to file a response by Thursday ahead of an inter-party court session scheduled for Friday afternoon.
With 19 minutes past 9 o'clock, NTV Tonight takes our first break. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Thanks very much for staying with us. Nurses in Nyeri County have committed to resuming their duties latest Wednesday morning after agreeing to a return-to-work agreement with the county government.
The nurses who downed their tools last week have agreed to take up their duties on the strength of an assurance from the county government that the allowances will be paid in full once the Salaries and Remuneration Commission gives its approval.
Well, Nyeri joins a list of 6 counties, that's Vihiga, Mombasa, Machakos, Kwale, Migori and Nairobi, that have inked return-to-work deals.
Health services in 10 counties are, however, still crippled, and unless a resolution is reached before week's end, that number is set to rise even higher. The Deputy President, William Ruto, has acknowledged that the land on which the Western Hotel stands was acquired fraudulently and that this was being reversed legally.
Now, the country's second-in-command, in an interview with the BBC's Hard Talk presenter Stephen Saka, has insisted that he has been the only Kenyan politician subjected to a lifestyle audit in the public eye, while stating that the Jubilee government is keen on fighting corruption in the country in order to realize the Big Four agenda development.
NTV's Leila Mohammed with excerpts from that BBC Hard Talk interview.
Deputy President William Ruto.
Deputy President William Ruto took questions from the BBC in London and was put to task to explain why his name popped up among the Kenyan population, especially in opinion polls, over his alleged engagement in corruption.
Why do you think you are seen by so many Kenyans?
So interesting to listen to, but Deputy President William Ruto says that President Uhuru Kenyatta is the only person who matters to him in the debate over his bid for the top seat in the 2022 election. But what's interesting is what you'll read in your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow based on what he has said. So make sure you get your copy.
On to something the Deputy President has spoken about in terms of elections and the history it has in the country. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission wants laws related to elections passed at least 2 years before the polls.
The IEBC says this will give it time to prepare for elections and avoid some of the pitfalls it experienced in previous exercises.
Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati also revealed that the IEBC is now ready to open its servers for scrutiny, as had been ordered by the Supreme Court.
Silas Apollo reports on the recommendations that the Commission gave during the launch of a report that evaluated the 2017 general elections.
Speaking during the launch of the post-election evaluation report at the KICC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says that the 2017 election was one of its toughest. It says that some of the challenges it faced were the large number of contestants, late funding, breakdown of the system, and even violence against its staff. Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati says that gaps in the law are to blame for some of these issues and wants amendments done early.
We can each contribute by strengthening the law on elections. And once we strengthen the law on elections, then we shall strengthen the electoral infrastructure.
His sentiments were supported by the National Assembly's Majority Leader Aden Duale and the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee Chairman William Cheptumo.
2019, then we can soberly relook at all the election infrastructure, the legal framework, the voter registration, the materials that will be used. We look at the Political Parties Act, we look at the Election Offences Act, we look at the Election Act, the IBC Act.
The changes, says Chebukati, will also address challenges such as the reappointment of commissioners in case some opt out. Currently, IEBC has only 2 commissioners after 4 resigned.
We should be given money throughout the electoral cycle so that we can be better prepared for the elections.
Chebukati also said the commission is now ready to open its servers to reveal what happened in the transmission of results in the August 2017 presidential elections.
The famous story in Kenya is Fungua server, what happened to the server. Now, the commission, we know what we have, the information we have. But we need an external consultant to audit the server and give the information to Kenyans.
Chief Justice Willie Mutunga was the guest of honor at the event, which was also attended by the Speaker of the Senate, Ken Lusaka.
Despite the challenges it says it faced in the 2017 general elections, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission now says it is working to restore the integrity of upcoming elections in 2022, even as it fights to regain the lost public confidence. Silas Apollo, NTV.
You know, Smriti, it's very interesting how now the clamor for scrutinizing these servers has gone down. We hope that indeed someone will come, an independent auditor will come and perhaps give us the answers that many people were asking for previous months.
But Mark, that is politics for you.
Now, in an attempt by the Amani National Congress to reverse a decision to appoint nominated MP Godfrey Osotsi to the House Business Committee was defeated on the floor of the National Assembly after his name was approved with 6 others.
Osotsi is considered more of an ODM sympathizer by his party, ANC, and Osotsi replaced Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba, who's said to have made very few appearances to the important committee that sets the House's calendar last year.
NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Moredi examines events on the first day of Parliament.
This afternoon, Parliament resumed sittings Tuesday afternoon after a long break with one main business on the agenda, approving names to the House Business Committee. In Parliament, it is a key committee that plans the House's calendar, and without it, business cannot be transacted. On the list of 7 was the name of a renegade Amani National Congress nominated MP Godfrey Osotsi. To his party members, his name had not been approved for forwarding to substitute Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba.
Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the counter opinion say no? No.
Some, led by Lugari MP Ayub Savula, tried to protest the inclusion of Osotsi, but their shouts fell on deaf ears.
A motion of this nature, even if you are opposed to one, you must reject the entire list. And of course, what that would mean is that then you can as well relax home, go back to the village, for the next 6 months unless you vote again to rescind your earlier decision. Honorable Omboko Milemba, you know, this is the National Assembly. It is not that organization called Kupet. You know, here we follow rules.
Speaker Justin Muturi also rejected investigations into National Land Commission Chairman Mohamed Swazuri and Vice Chairperson Abigail Mbagaya over a series of accusations leveled against them. The Speaker said it will be a waste of time for Parliament as their term of office was coming to an end next week, Tuesday.
I advise that the petitioners are at liberty to seek recourse from other relevant agencies with the jurisdiction over the allegations contained in their petitions. This is because the jurisdiction of those entities transcends the term of office of a state officer.
The National Land Commissioners were appointed in 2013 and were to serve for a single 6-year term, which lapses on Tuesday, 19th February. If the Speaker were to commit the petition before the relevant committee, then they would have tabled a report on 26th March, days after they had long left office. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
And given the different infightings with political parties, that's why you should be watching Sidebar tonight after NTV Tonight. Ken Mijungu will be hosting Ndindi Nyoro, Mark Nyamita, Judith Sijeni, and Barak Muluka, all representing different parties, and they'll be looking at the state of political parties.
And it's time for a quick break on NTV Tonight. But first, a quick reminder of our opinion count question. Do you think the NTSA has what it takes to tame road carnage? We'd like to hear from you. Send us your views on 20686 or tweet us at NTV Kenya, at Smriti Vidyarthi, and at Mark Masai.
It's now time for Business Break. Dan Mwangi will be with you in a bit.
Good evening and welcome to NTV Business. I'm Dan Mwangi. Now, you have until the 26th of February 2019 to submit comments on the draft Sovereign Wealth Fund bill, through which the government seeks to accrue savings and cushion public expenditure from shocks in natural resource flows. The aim of the bill is to ensure that there is proper management of the proceeds from oil, gas and mining industries. Julian Samboko with more on this.
The Sovereign Wealth Fund is the latest indicator that Kenya is getting ready for proceeds from export of crude oil, coming after the June 2018 oil pilot export scheme. The scheme is still underway, with exploration company Tullow Oil transporting 600 barrels per day from Turkana to Mombasa as of January 2019. Tullow Oil reports that production is expected to reach 2,000 barrels per day by April this year. The Sovereign Wealth Fund has three components: a stabilization fund, which could take various forms, including a bond, which can be issued in the global capital markets; the Infrastructure Development Fund, which will provide funding for infrastructure projects; and the Urithi component, which is essentially a savings kitty for future generations. Sovereign wealth funds are aimed at helping economies which are rich in mineral resources to manage and save revenues from the same, with a view to cushion themselves against volatile prices. In 2016, Nigeria's economy, which produces 1.9 million barrels of oil per day, slumped into recession owing to the drastic decline in oil prices in the international market. Some of Africa's sovereign wealth funds include Ghana's petroleum funds, which as at September 2018 had assets valued at $378 million, Equatorial Guinea's Fund for Future Generations, Gabon's Sovereign Wealth Fund, and Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority, which held assets worth $1.5 billion as at the end of 2017. With Kenya in the budding stages of oil exploration, it is hoped that the establishment of such a fund will go a long way in helping streamline management of public finances. Julians Amboko, NTV.
Now, earnings from the horticulture industry hit 153 billion shillings last year, a 33% growth, which saw the sector clinch the third position of Kenya's largest contributor to the economy after diaspora remittances and tourism. Flowers boosted the contribution of the fresh produce earnings, while fruits and vegetables came second and third respectively. And as Lillian Kiari reports, the industry defied challenges rising from shortage of fertilizer and Brexit shocks to post an impressive performance.
The high demand in local fresh produce in international markets has seen the horticulture industry shake up the pecking order of the traditional contributors to the GDP. According to the latest data from the industry, flower exports contributed 110 billion shillings, up from 82 billion shillings, and in 2017, representing 37.8% growth. Fruits and vegetables earned 12 billion shillings and 27 billion shillings in 2018, an increase from 9 billion shillings and 24 billion shillings earned in 2017, respectively. The cut flower export still remains the largest earner, contributing 74% of the total fresh produce annual earnings, fruits at 8% and vegetables at 18%. But beneath the growth, the horticulture industry last year had a tough time battling challenges resulting from an acute shortage of fertilizer and an increased imposition of VAT on pest control products that in turn amplify the cost of production. Kenyan farmers are still facing numerous challenges that are barring them from expanding the export market.
Is to provide business, legal and regulatory framework for promotion of development of horticultural exports. And key among that is the harmonization of county government fees and levies to make them a one-off levy to implement a single collection and mutual recognition framework.
With the demand of fresh produce skyrocketing locally, maintaining the supply has proved to be a challenge, forcing the farmers to cry out for government intervention.
There is need for government to collaborate with the financial institutions to set up instruments to enable growers and exporters access affordable credit.
The government has also been tasked to explore new markets such as China to complement the traditional European markets. Lillian Kiari, NTV.
Now let's talk about what are called the youngins. Kenya's quest to increase its manufacturing output is in danger of running out of steam as millennials rank engineering as one of the least conducive professions to work in. A survey of millennials by Brett Amande reveals that engineering and retail are the bottom two professions as far as best working conditions are concerned, while working for non-governmental organizations and in the financial sector are ranked at the top. Alex Mwangi reports.
When it comes to handling the millennials who spend on average just 2 years at a job, employers and human resource professionals find themselves facing a dicey situation.
Today's challenge is that there is a disconnect between the way organizations are structured and the aspirations or expectations of the millennial worker.
A survey of over 8,000 urban Kenyan millennials by Brighter Monday finds that millennials think non-governmental organizations offer the best working conditions, followed by working in the financial sector, IT or technology space, media and communications, sales and marketing, education and training, engineering, and then retail. The survey reveals the challenge that the government faces in encouraging youth to become engineers, even as growth of the manufacturing sector is considered as one of the big four agendas. The government is hoping to spur the growth of manufacturing from the current contribution of 9% of GDP to 15% by 2022.
Mi dream yangu ilikuwa kuwa soja.
My dream nilikuwa nataka kwenda kufanya hospitality.
According to the survey, millennials are putting more emphasis on the social value that employment creates rather than the remuneration package offered. With evolving technology, there are new professions emerging, and parents of some millennials often find themselves having difficulty to understand what exactly their children are up to.
I think the most important thing is to actually give them and support them in these new form of jobs, because I think those are the future jobs that we may not think are good jobs for the moment, but they are jobs that, of course, they are required for productivity in the future.
Research shows that by next year, half of the formal workforce will be made up of millennials. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And that discussion is what will be happening on NTV Today tomorrow. That's on tomorrow's show. That's NTV Today from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And Julian Samboko shall be driving that conversation. And we shall be having your views from the counties live. Now, Mumias Sugar Company is set to resume milling this Sunday after months of inactivity. Kenya Power disconnected supply to the miller, a few months ago over a 1.2 billion shilling debt in unpaid bills, forcing the mill to grind to a halt. Mumias says it has been engaged in talks with Kenya Power to work out a payment plan, and power has now been restored after Mumias paid part of the bill it owes and agreed to pay the rest in installments. Sweet or not, business and I are done, but I leave you with financials. Good night.
Financial Report in association with the University of Nairobi. NTV Financial Report in association with the University of Nairobi. Apply online through applications.uonbi.ac.ke.
Welcome back. The prosecution in the NYS2 Cluster 3 case told the Anti-Corruption Court that it will demonstrate how 167.5 million shillings meant for the National Youth Service was siphoned to unscrupulous companies that never delivered goods and services to the NYS.
The fraud case against a total of 38 accused persons, led by former Youth Affairs Principal Secretary Lilian Omolo, the Milimani Law Courts, with Senior Principal Magistrate Lucas Onyina's ruling that the trial could begin in the absence of 3 accused people.
NTV's Seth Olale with the latest from the NYS2 hearing.
We even confirmed to the court that we had...
In her opening statement, Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecution Mercy Gateru said she will demonstrate to the court how public servants at the Ministry of Youth and Gender colluded with unqualified companies to siphon 167.5 million shillings through the National Youth Service for goods not delivered. The lead prosecutor further stated that she will reveal how circulars and genuine contractors' numbers issued to unscrupulous companies were forged and illegally used to pay non-existent suppliers. In addition, the prosecution said it will prove how colossal amounts were paid as pending bills, yet they did not fit the description of a pending bill since they were slotted into the NYS stock for pending bills. The lead prosecutor further stated that her office shall demonstrate how the Information Financial Management System, IFMIS, was deliberately exploited and manipulated by the perpetrators of the crime to embezzle public funds. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution also told the court that it shall provide evidence showing how the then accounting officer for State Department of Public Service and Youth, Lilian Omolo, failed to utilize the funds in accordance with the law and was not accountable to the National Assembly and Treasury. Additionally, the prosecution said it shall prove that Fastlink Supplies Limited, Kunjiwa Enterprises and Ameritrade Limited did not appear in the list of pre-qualified suppliers but mysteriously appeared in the list of pending bills for the financial year 2014 and 2015. Joyce Allah, an assistant director in the supply chain unit of the State Department of Transport, was the first prosecution witness who was cross-examined. The 38 accused persons are charged with 10 offences, including conspiracy to commit an economic crime, abuse of office, neglect of official duties, fraudulently making payments, and uttering false documents, among others. Other than the first witness who took to the stand on Tuesday, the prosecution has lined up 30 others, hoping that the witnesses will enable it to produce watertight evidence in order to convict the accused persons. Seth Olale, NTV, Milimani Law Courts.
All right, we're approaching 10 o'clock. Let's take a quick break. The sports news is coming up in just a moment.
Warotekiru. Mathare United blistering start to the 2019 Kenyan Premier League season is seemingly coming undone with 13 matches played. The Slum Boys lost for the second time this season, getting hammered 4-1 by Sofapaka at the Kasarani Stadium. Meanwhile, Bandari cruised to a 2-0 win over visiting Vihiga United to tie on points with the Slum Boys, who have a superior goal difference and who have played a game more. Sean Kadovilis was on the football beat.
In the shock result of round 13, 2008 Kenyan Premier League champions Mathare United were thrashed 4-1 by Sofapaka at Kasarani. Batoto Bamungu started with a bang as Elias Siechi scored after 2 minutes. A Titus Acheza free kick was then deflected into the goal on the half-hour mark. With 2 minutes to the end of the first half, Mathare keeper Alan Owini spilled a John Avire free kick and Ugandan striker Umaru Kusamba reacted fastest to score. Veteran Kevin Kimani scored a consolation for Francis Kimanzi's Chargers with 20 minutes to play, but Kasumba restored Sofapaka's 3-goal advantage on the stroke of full time.
Well, the win was very important to us because we had planned to win and we have won. So it is going to help out my players. It's a good motivation to the next game that we are going to face over the weekend.
It's a very difficult situation to get the composure back after 1 and 2-0 trailing in the first minutes of the game.
And the result extends Mathare's winless run to 4 games, but they still remain top spot with 25 points thanks to a superior goal difference, with Sofapaka moving up to 3rd with 23 points. So Sofapaka continuing their rich vein of form. It wasn't really the win that surprised people, but the size of the win here at Kasarani. Mathare's loss was Bandari's gain, as the Docksmen tied on points with the leaders following a 2-0 win over Vihiga United at the Mbaraki Stadium. Meanwhile, Poster Rangers climbed off the relegation zone and into 14th on the log after stunning Zoya Sugar 2-0 at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. And this is 10-man Kariobangi Sharks pipped host Kakamega Homeboys 1-0 at the Bukungu Stadium. Sean Carter-Villis, NTV.
Staying with football, and Kenyan champions Gor Mahia will be missing the services of strikers Dennis Oliech and Jacques Tuisenge when they face Angolan giants Petro Atletico in Luanda at 7 p.m. The match will be a CAF Confederation group stage match, and Gor will be seeking to maintain their good start to the competition, having beaten Egyptian giants Zamalek 4-2 at Kasarani 10 days ago. And on to athletics, and a group of athletes from Elgeyo-Marakwet County are up in arms over the delayed construction of training facilities in the county by the national and county governments. And as Gabriel Kudaka reports, the athletes are now calling on well-wishers to come to their rescue and help get the stadium into suitable conditions so that they can use them to prepare for major athletics competitions in the near future.
A prophet not being honored in his hometown is perhaps the phrase that perfectly captures the situation where the facilities for athletes are not well taken care of in a country and a county that prides itself as the home of champions.
He is going to break the world record.
Despite bringing the country glory in numerous championships across the world, back at home, athletes in Elgeyo-Marakwet have to weave between motor vehicles amid rising clouds of dust as they train.
Kwa hizi mabarabara zetu zimejaa mchanga, zimejaa mawe, zimejaa motorbike na magari.
The delay in renovation of stadia in the athletics mad and talent-rich county is now a source of concern. Case in point is Kamarini Stadium that has been closed for renovation since 2014. This is despite close to 300 million shillings being earmarked to uplift the standards of the stadium. The alternative Kiptingo grounds are also not fit for training. This has forced the athletes to fundraising and attempt to make Kamarin good for training by laying maram.
We have been promised by the county government that they will do an alternative track where athletes can use for their training, but it has taken long also.
Athletes in the neighboring counties of Uasin Gishu and Nandi are also experiencing similar challenges after Kipchoge Stadium in Eldoret and Kipchoge Stadium in Kapsabet were both closed for renovations which have taken ages to complete. Upgrading of sports infrastructure has been a major challenge to the Jubilee government, whose 2013 pledge of 5 stadia in 5 counties is still yet to be fulfilled. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
On to rugby, and former Kenya Rugby Union Director Asiko Owiro has thrown his hat in the ring to succeed outgoing KRU Chairman Richard Omola during the KRU annual general meeting to be held in March. Others who have announced interest in vying for the chairman's seat are former KRU Vice Chairman Sasha Mutai, current KRU Secretary General Oduor Gangla, and KRU Director Ezekiel Owor.
I'd ask you to give me a year and check whether I've brought in any money to rugby or not. But I believe I'm capable of knocking to the right doors to get that sponsorship. If I could manage it at KCB, why can't I manage it for Kenya Rugby? Yeah. So that is really it. And having been a player, even for Watembezi Pace Setters, for Kenya Sevens, Kenya 15s, I think it's important to have really felt the pain of the game. Indeed, in our days, I don't think issues of money would ever arise because the union never had it at all. And we still played the game for the love of the sport. So I'm coming back for the love of the sport.
For the love of the game, may sports administrators take that to heart and not just pay lip service to it. And finally, inform Manchester United host French giants PSG at Old Trafford in the peak of Tuesday's UEFA Champions League round of 16 matches. Given the Red Devils' current form, interim coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes that this is the best time to face PSG, who will be missing star players in Cavani and Neymar. Roma host Porto in the night's other clash.
Manchester United started.
Think we have to end with this, that NTSA has what it takes to tame road carnage in Kenya. Send us your yes and no. Well, most people think that the biggest contributor, according to Franklin, just one sample, the biggest contributor of road carnage is corrupt officers and disrespecting the rule of law. If only the corrupted seeds would be uprooted from the government bodies like NTSA, drivers would adhere to road safety at all times. And Jackson Dongo says to say no to corruption and to be extravagant on their work. And Celestine Kerubo says no. First, the rate at which bribes are collected is wanting. The tribalism in there is demanding too. That is at NTSA Kenya. Jimmy_James asks, what do you think? I think it's time for a break. My name is Mark Masai. Let's give way to Sidebar.
That's right. It's coming up in just a moment with Ken Mijungu. But thanks to Flora Atieno, our sign language interpreter.